صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم يا ربي صل.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. نويت التعلم والتعليم والتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة على الخير ابتغاء قربه وثوابه ووجهه سبحانه وتعالى. اللهم ارزقنا يا رب فهم النبيين وحفظ المرسلين وإلهام الملائكة المقربين في عافية يا رب العالمين. قال الشيخ المؤلف ودام الله نفع به وبكم في الدارين آمين رضي الله عنكم. Okay. So we are supposed to discuss about how to do Jama Qasr, Taqdeem and Ta'khir in Imam Al-Shafi'i. Now we have known on the way of doing the calculation of the 4 days. And we have mentioned that the 4 days begin from, starting from what time? Fajr, and it ends at? Maghrib. That means the first Fajr that you pass through is the first day. Okay? It is not the time, it is not the number of hours and further on. Maybe you can refer to the video last week. We discussed on the how long can you do Jama Qasr. And how is the calculation? We said 4 days. And how is the 4 days calculation? You can refer to the video last week. Now 4 days begins from Fajr and ends at Maghrib. The first Fajr you pass through is considered as the first day, and the 4th day only completes after you go through the 4th day Maghrib. If you don't go through the Maghrib, then it's still not a complete 4 days. Now, how do you do Jama Qasr? Now, the only prayers that can be Jama means combine. Qasr means shorten. Okay, Jama means combine. Qasr means shortening. Now, if you want to do Jama', it can only be done for Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha. Fajr prayers you cannot combine. You have to pray Fajr prayers as for normal. For Dhuhr and Asr prayers, you can combine it and you can choose to do it either in Dhuhr time or Asr time. For Maghrib and Isha prayers, you can choose to combine and do it in Maghrib time or in the Isha time before Fajr comes. Okay, so it is very important for us to be aware about that. Now, combining those prayers. Firstly, if you are combining, there are 2 methods of combining. Okay, 2 methods of combining the prayers. Firstly is what they call it taqdeem. Secondly, it's called ta'khir. Now, taqdeem means to bring forward. No, not to bring forward, to make it earlier. This is clearer. Make it earlier. Ta'khir means to delay it, or to make it later. Taqdeem means to make it earlier, ta'khir means to make it later. Now in the first place, we have to observe. There are few things we have to do in taqdeem. For taqdeem, number one, you have to intend in the first prayer that you are going to bring forward the second prayer. Anytime in the first prayer, okay? Intend to make second prayer earlier. Okay? This is the first thing. In your first prayers, in taqdeem, you have to intend to make your second prayer earlier in your first prayer before you give salams, which means you can intend to make your second prayer earlier anytime since you start doing takbir until you give your first salam. First salam, not second salam. Because in Madhab Shafi'i, you go out of your prayers in your first salam. So before you give your first salam, even at the tahiyyat, even in your tashahhud akhir, in your last sitting, okay, you can do the intention of, I want to bring my asar prayer earlier, or I want to bring my isha prayer earlier. This is the first condition. Second condition is that there should not be second condition is there should not be a gap of more than 2 short rak'at, approximately 1 minute. There should not be a gap of more than 2 short rak'at between 2 prayers. And then number 3, you have to cover the distance. Which is 2 marhala. 2 marhala is equals to 77.2485 kilometers or 78 kilometers. That's how we have discussed. You should cover you have to cover the distance. Now, these are some of the conditions. There are many other conditions, but these are some of the conditions. Not many other conditions, there are few other conditions, but this is some of the conditions that we have to be very aware about. Now, Jama, combining prayers is not only allowed when you travel. When you travel, you are allowed to combine your prayers. Okay? It is also allowed for you to combine your prayers for darura. Not darura, for haja, if you have need. For example, if you stuck in a traffic jam. Okay? Or if you are in an examination hall. Or if there's rain. Or if there's Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik alayh, or if you are out of your city. For example, you go to JB just to shop and you're coming back to Singapore. You can do Jama, but you cannot do Qasr. You can do Jama, which means you're allowed to combine, but you're not allowed to do Qasr. You're not allowed to shorten your prayers. You're allowed to do your Dhuhr and Asr combine, Maghrib and Isha combine. If you're out of your city, if you're out of your hometown, okay, you're allowed to do you are allowed to do Jama. What else? There's rain, there's traffic jam, or maybe someone who's sick, then he is not allowed to take so many times wudu. Okay? So then he is allowed to do Jama. Otherwise, you're not supposed to do Jama. Jama is allowed to do if you need it, but it should not be done on a constant manner. Every day you do Jama. Every day you do Jama. That is disliked by our scholars. That is disliked. That is very, very difficult. We shouldn't take advantage of the concession of Jama at all times. Okay? When we need it, then we use it. If we don't need it, if we can pray as for normal, we pray as for normal. But if you have such reasons like you're out of your city, or if there's rain, these are valid reasons which you can do Jama. Or if you're stuck in traffic jam, some people, they might go back home from work at time when it's, mashallah, they finish their work at a certain time, maybe about 6:30, then they will be only back home maybe about 8:30, wallahu alam. If you have such thing in Singapore. Do you have such thing in Singapore?
Yes.
You have, eh? But if you are walking, then you can pray anywhere. Unless you are driving. If you are driving, then you can use this concession. Otherwise, if you are walking, then what? Then pray everywhere. Even if you are driving, you can just stop at the roadside if you want and pray. 2 minutes, da'wah. Show the whole world that I'm praying. I'm worshipping Allah, and you should worship Allah as well. And there should not be any excuses for you to do salah. It's a da'wah. That is for taqdeem. And one of the other conditions is that you do in the earlier time, which means if Dhuhr and Asr you will do in Dhuhr, Maghrib and Isha you do in Maghrib. Perform the salah, perform the prayers at the early part. That is Jama Taqdeem. Jama Ta'khir, the condition to do Jama Ta'khir, the way to do Jama Ta'khir is to delay your prayers, to make your prayers at the later part of the Salah. For Dhuhr and Asr you will do in Asr. For Maghrib and Isha you will do in Isha. There's only one thing that you should be very, very aware of. That you do the intention. Now of course you have to be away out of your city if you want to do Jama without any other reasons. If you are out of your city, yes, you can start doing Jama. Or otherwise you have need, then you can do Jama. Otherwise you don't do Jama. But there's not only one condition. One of the most important condition is that to intend to delay or to intend delaying the prayers at the first part or first time of prayers, which means when Maghrib comes in, before Maghrib ends, you have to intend to delay your prayers to Isha. You can say it with your mouth, or you can even just intend it with your heart. For example, you say, Nawain al-Ta'khir, I intend to delay my prayers. No, that's enough. That's sufficient. Just to say, I have intended to delay my prayers. That's enough. That's sufficient. And then to cover the distance, and then to also what else? Let me write that. You don't have. It is not a condition that you have to do it one after another, which means the gap can be more than 1 minute. Okay, for example like me. Now I don't pray Maghrib, for example, but I've prayed Maghrib. Just like, for example, I don't want to pray Maghrib. Okay, I don't pray Maghrib. Then, when come Isha time, I pray Isha together with you. It is not a necessity for me to do the Maghrib prayers right away after Isha. I can do Maghrib once I reach JB, as long as I do it before Fajr comes in. Okay? One of another condition of Jama Taqdim is to begin with the earlier part of the prayers, which means Maghrib, you do Maghrib first, then you do Isha. You can add another condition on the Taqdim. On the Taqdim, you add to begin with the earlier part of the prayers. Okay? Now, to intend delaying the prayers at the first time of prayers, this is very, very important. If you don't do this, then your prayers is not considered as Jama anymore. It will be considered as Qada. It will be considered as Qada. Okay. Now, if you do Ta'khir, now you're traveling from Kuala Lumpur to Singapore. Your hometown is Singapore. You do Ta'khir. You said you want to do your prayers in Singapore. You are a traveler from KL to Singapore. Then along the journey, as long as before you enter the border of Singapore, then you are allowed to shorten your prayers. For the prayers which have 4 rak'ah. Only prayers with 4 rak'ah can be shortened. Prayer with 3 or 2 rak'ah cannot be shortened. So as you enter Singapore, you're not allowed to shorten your prayers anymore. Okay? As if you have entered Singapore, and then, for example, you want to do your Ta'khir, Maghrib and Isha, and the Isha time once you reach Singapore. Once you have reached Singapore. So when you reached Singapore, you have to do 3 rak'ah Maghrib and 4 rak'ah Isha, no more 2 rak'ah. Because you are no more a traveler. You don't have that concession anymore. Okay? At the same time, your prayers is not considered Jama' anymore. It is considered as Qada, but without sins. Because now you're not allowed to do Jama' in your country, in your state, except for when there's a need, as how we have explained earlier. But your prayers become Qada, but there's no sins, because you have delayed the prayers with a valid reason. Traveling is a valid reason. Okay? Now your prayers become Qada, but with a valid reason, which means you don't get sins anymore. That is very important in Ta'khir, which means to delay your prayer. Qasr is very simple. It's just to shorten your prayers. The next thing is Qasr. Next thing is Qasr. Now, to do Qasr, one of the conditions is that you have to be a traveler of more than 48 miles or 78 kilometers. This is number one. You have to be a traveler of more than 78 kilometers. Okay. Secondly, you cannot pray behind an imam who's doing itmam. Itmam is the opposite of qasr. Okay? you cannot pray behind an imam who is doing itmam. Means complete cycle of 4 rak'ah. If the imam prays 4 rak'ah and you intend as 2 rak'ah, then your prayers automatically becomes 4 rak'ah. Even if the imam only left with 2 rak'ah, then your prayers also becomes 4 rak'ah. For example, he is praying Dhuhr, 4 rak'ah. He has completed his tashahhud al-awwal. He stood up, and then you come and join his prayers. You intended to do 2 rak'ah, and then he completes his prayer after 2 rak'ah, after your 2 rak'ah. Now you have to continue to complete your prayers to do up to 4 rak'ah. You cannot be a ma'mum, okay, of an imam who is doing 4 rak'ah. So you either pray yourself or have an imam, okay, who is praying 2 rak'ah just as how you are praying 2 rak'ah, or pray 4 rak'ah with the imam to get the reward of jama'ah. Okay? Now this is very important. There's also such thing as jama' for rain, if it rains. Now you can do jama' if it rains, but there are few conditions. Number one, long story, we don't go in there. But the most important, it has to be done in the mosque, at the first part of the 2 prayers, and the rain has to continue throughout your 2 prayers. If the rain stops in between, before you begin your second prayer, then you're not allowed to do jama', and it has to be in the mosque, provided that it's difficult for you to travel from your home to the mosque. Even if you have to use an umbrella, it's considered as difficult. There's no shelter from your home to the mosque. Okay? That's prayer for jama' for rain. It's allowed for you to do that. So now, just another side of looking at this. You can't pray behind an imam who is doing itmam, 4 rak'ah. If you are a ma'mum of an imam who is doing 4 rak'ah, or if you are a ma'mum of an imam who is a muqim, and a muqim, he is not allowed to do qasr. Am I right? A muqim, he is not allowed to do qasr, 2 rak'ah. So he has to do 4 rak'ah. Now a muqim imam for Friday prayers, how many rak'ah do you pray for Friday prayers? 2 rak'ah. If he prays 2 rak'ah, but he's a muqim, and you are a traveler, you're allowed to pray 2 rak'ah. But if the imam is a muqim, which means he is supposed to do 4 rak'ah, if you are able to catch up at least 1 ruku' with him, Madhab Shafi'i, for you to be able to do 2 rak'ah for Jum'ah, is that you have to be able to catch 1 of the 2 ruku' at least from the imam. Which means if the imam does his second ruku', you have to enter your prayers and go to ruku' as well. If you enter the prayers after he has completed his second ruku', which means after he has stood up, Sami Allahu liman hamidah, on his second rak'ah, if you're not a traveler, then you have to do 4 rak'ah prayers, not 2 rak'ah. Not 2 rak'ah, you have to do 4 rak'ah prayers if you are late. Now you're a traveler, you're allowed to do 2 rak'ah. You come into the imam's prayer when he has completed his second ruku', and the imam is a muqim. If you're a traveler, you also have to do 4 rak'ah, and you cannot do 2 rak'ah. Because the fact that the imam is the one he is a muqim. And the muqim, he is supposed to complete his 4 rak'ah. Okay? As long as you pray behind a muqim, not a musafir, you are also considered as a muqim. Do you understand that? Do you want me to repeat?
Yes.
Now, for normal prayers, probably you don't understand the first prayer in the first place for a muqim. A muqim, a mustawtin. Now, for example, I'm a Singaporean. I live in Singapore. The imam also is Singaporean. He lives in Singapore. I pray behind that imam, but I came late for my Jum'ah prayers. If the imam has got out from his second ruku', he has said, Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Then only you go into the prayers. Now you do not do any more. You do not do 2 rak'ah anymore. You have to do how many rak'ah? 4 rak'ah. You are allowed to do 2 rak'ah for Jum'ah if you have joined the imam's prayer and you get a complete of 1 rak'ah. And the conditions to get complete 1 rak'ah is that for you to join the imam at least in his ruku'. So now if you don't get 1 complete rak'ah with the imam, you are not allowed to do 2 rak'ah anymore for Jum'ah. You must do how many rak'ah? 4 rak'ah. This is for everyone. Now a traveler, he wants to pray Jum'ah. Yallah, he says, Jum'ah, I don't feel comfortable leaving my Jum'ah behind. Even if he is allowed to leave his Jum'ah. Because he's a traveler. Provided that he travel before Fajr. If he travels after Fajr, he's not allowed to leave Jum'ah for that day. If you travel after Fajr, mashallah, a lot of details come along the way. If you travel after Fajr, you are not allowed to leave your Jum'ah on that day. If you want to leave your Jum'ah, you have to you start your traveling journey before Fajr. If you want to travel after Fajr, you have to make sure that you are able to do your Jum'ah on that day. You got this? You got it? That's very important. Now we have understood of a situation of a person who joins the Jum'ah, but after the Imam has completed his second ruku'. In that situation, he has to do his 4 rak'ah, as we have understood, isn't it? Now a traveler, he travels more than 78 kilometers. He stays at that place less than 4 complete days. Remember, 4 complete days, not 4 days. 4 complete days. And the 4 complete days, the calculation, that's how we have given. Now, if a traveler joins an imam who is a muqim, and he joins the imam only after the imam has completed his second ruku', not first ruku', second ruku', then he, even though if he is a traveler, he has to do 4 rak'ah, because you are only allowed to do 4 rak'ah if you join the imam before he has completed his second ruku'. Now he's a traveler, he intended 2 rak'ah, but the fact that he prays behind an imam who is a muqim, okay, he has to perform his salat as a muqim. If he's a muqim, he has to perform his salat as a muqim. No, if the imam is a muqim, if he's a musafir or he's whatever it is, stateless, whatever it is, as long as he prays behind an imam who's a muqim, he has to pray as a muqim. Is that clear? That's clear. Probably you don't even understand the first part, where you have to do a complete 4 rak'ah of prayers if you join an imam who has completed his second ruku'. Because now you don't have Jum'ah anymore, you have Dhuhr. You don't have Jum'ah anymore. Because you don't even get to join the imam for 1 complete rak'ah of prayers. But you still get the reward of Jum'ah. No, you get reward the Jama'ah, but not Jum'ah. Okay? If you do not join the imam before he has completed his first his first ruku. Now another fact which is interesting. Another interesting fact. Now we have understood what is Jama Qasr in a brief manner. In detail we will go later inshallah in Bab Salat. We are not even completed purification. All of this is supposed to be in Bab Salat. Another interesting fact before we go into our lesson. Now, if a person prays Jum'ah, or if an Imam prays Jum'ah, this is the Imam. Now this is Ma'mum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 20 saf. They pray Jum'ah. But the 21st saf, they only get to join the Imam after the Imam has completed 1 rak'ah, which means they get to join the Imam for 1 rak'ah. If they get to join the Imam for 1 rak'ah, then they are allowed to do 2 rak'ah for their Dhuhr prayers. Okay, which means they have joined the Imam before the Imam complete his ruku'. After the Imam has completed his ruku', then you join the prayers, you get the reward of Jama'ah, but you don't get the 2 rak'ah of Jum'ah. But this 21st saf, okay, they get to join the Imam when he's still left with his 1 rak'ah. Maybe he was reciting Fatiha, maybe when he was reciting Surah, or maybe when even he was doing his ruku'. Then he joined and he do the ruku' with the Imam, and he get to do tama'nina with the Imam. If he doesn't get to do tama'nina, then it is not considered as he has done 1 proper ruku'. Tama'nina is part of ruku'. Depends. Certain scholars take it out of ruku', certain scholars put it together with ruku'. But you have to have tama'nina with ruku' with Imam if you want to do the 2 rak'ah. Now the 21st saf get to do 2 rak'ah. The 22nd saf, they join the Imam after the Imam has completed his 2nd ruku'. Maybe when the Imam was in i'tidal, or maybe when the Imam is doing sujood, or whatever it is. The 22nd saf has to do 4 rak'ah. The 21st saf is allowed to do 2 rak'ah. And anyone who is able to join, now khalas, the prayers has ended, Imam prayers has ended, but this 21st saf still performing their 1 rak'ah after they have completed the first rak'ah of their Jum'ah. Now they are doing their 2nd rak'ah. Anyone who is able to join from anyone from the 21st saf in their prayers, if their prayers left with 1 rak'ah before they completed their 2nd ruku', he is also allowed to do 2 rak'ah. You understand this now? Yes. Do you need me to repeat? Now, the 21st rak'ah left with 1 rak'ah after the Imam gives salam. Okay, the Imam has given salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Now the 21st rak'ah saf will stand up. They will be left with 1 rak'ah. Anyone who joins after here, who joins the Imam, anyone who comes from outside, who joins anyone from the 21st rak'ah before they complete their ruku', then they are also allowed to do 2 rak'ah. And then the same goes to the next person. If they are able to join from anyone from here before he has completed his 2nd ruku', he is also allowed to do 2 rak'ah until asar time comes.
When you say join, is it ma'mum?
Yes, ma'mum of this person. Even if he doesn't accept you as a ma'mum, you are still his ma'mum. He couldn't do anything, he couldn't help it. Because if he rejects you as a ma'mum, then he doesn't get the reward of imam, that's all. But the ma'mum still get the reward of ma'mum, and he still got all the concession. Okay, is that clear? Now continue like this until Asar time comes in. Once Asar time comes in, then if he is a muqim, then his prayers become qada and he has to do 4 rak'ah. Now what if you left your Jama Qasr prayers and you have to do qada for your Jama Qasr prayers? For example, when you were going to KL, you were driving and then you got tired, you didn't realize that you didn't pray your Maghrib and Isha, because normally you would always pray your Maghrib on time, your Isha on time. Then when you reach your destination, you rested, and then you travel the whole day, the whole week. When you come back to Singapore, then you realize that you have forgotten 2 prayers, Maghrib and Isha. How should you do qada of your 2 missed prayers? Now, if you want to do qada as 2 rak'ah, then you have to be a traveler. Otherwise, you're not going to do qada of 2 rak'ah. You have to do qada of 4 rak'ah of Isha and 3 rak'ah of Maghrib. But you say, I'm lazy to do 4 rak'ah. I want to do 2. Then you have to travel again. When you are traveling, that is when you do your qada of your Maghrib and Isha. Okay, Maghrib no problem, because I do 3, no difference. So I do Maghrib in Singapore. But that Isha, I want to do 2. I don't want to do 4. Khalas. Whenever you travel the next time, whenever you're traveling, that is when you do your qada of 2 rak'ah. As long as you have to pray 4 rak'ah, you're not allowed to do qada of 2 rak'ah. Khalas. The end of discussion bab salah. Now we have to go to our class, lesson. Okay? From one to another. I don't know how we do this. From khuf. From khuf, Then we come to here. Yalla, no problem. رب اغفر لي وتب علي إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. Trying to memorize all these informations, because knowledge is what's in the heart, not what is written in the book. I did not revise this for many years, but I still remember. So make sure you also have knowledge in your heart, not only in the book. And whenever you travel, whenever you do anything, the first thing that should come into your head is, how should I do? Something great about me is that, Astaghfirullah, not something great about me. Astaghfirullah. Something great that I go through when I face challenges and difficulties is that I always look for solutions in fiqh. I always look for solutions in fiqh. I tend to learn a lot of things in fiqh when I go through dunyawi difficulties. MashaAllah. So every time I go through dunyawi difficulties, I always think now is the fiqh time. And you get great solutions that you could never think of at times. And then I start to call my mashayikh, Ya Sheikh, how should I do now? I'm in this situation. What should I do? How to solve this problem? Then you do this, then you do this. Or sometimes I don't even have to consult my mashayikh. But because of the basic knowledge that I just have to come up with a solution. I have to look back at how these things, all these kind of things happening, then come up with a solution. So challenges is always an advantage for me. MashaAllah. It's always like that. When I have problems, I always go to fiqh first. Fiqh, MashaAllah. Not tasawwuf part is easy. Sometimes it's challenging, but no, not sometimes challenging, it's challenging. But the tasawwuf part is a straightforward thing, advice and iman, revert back to Allah. It's just about fighting your desire and strengthening your iman. But fiqh, grows. Wonderful. I mean, you always learn something in fiqh what you don't learn when you don't have difficulties. So difficulties is always an advantage for me. Have fun if I use the wrong words to say. Now, we want to learn about what isma'ul qalil wa isma'ul kathir. Let me just find out something. Who is his name? Bafadar. I want to know exactly the calculation. The calculation of two qullah. How many liters is two qullah? It is written in this book 190 liters, but I'm not sure myself if this calculation is correct. Now, the next thing, wal qalil. Faslun al-ma'u qalilun wa kathirun. Section, water is either a little or abundant. Okay? A little amount of water is that which is less than 2 qullah. Which is less than 2 qullah. Abundant water, that which is 2 qullah or more. So now in fiqh, when we mention about little water, it should be so when we mention about 2 qullah, when we mention about little water, it is always less than 2 qullah. When we mention about abundant water, it is more than 2 qullah. So now you understand, when we mention little amount of water, it's less than 2 qullah, and when it's abundant water, it is more than 2 qullah. طيب قلتان فأكثر. Now, a little amount of water will become impure when any impurities falls into it, even though the water does not change. Okay? Abundant water will not become impure except when its taste, color, or smell changes. Okay? Now, at the footnote, if an impurity water is so small, okay, impurity of a leg on the leg of a fly that is indiscernible. Thank you. By eyesight, which means invisible, undetectable, something like that. Meaning an average look that is either a negligent glance or a detailed inspection, or a dead creature without flowing blood falls into it. In both cases, the water remains purifying. This applies to both running or stagnant water. Forget about it. Now, وَالْقَلِيلُ يَتَنَجَّسُ بِوُقُوعِ النَّجَاسَ فِيهِ وَإِنْ لَمْ يَتَغَيَّرْ. Don't look at the footnote number 18. It's not clear for us. Number 19, even though none of the water's characteristics, taste, color or smell have changed. That's okay. But number 18. A little amount of water will become impure when any impurity falls into it, even though the water does not change. Any kind of impurities or any kind of najasa, any kind of filth will make the water impure, even though if the water does not change, if it's less than 2 qullah, if the water is little. If the water is little and the filth falls into the water, then the water becomes impure. Except if it fulfills few conditions. Now the water becomes impure if the filth falls into it, except for a few things. Number one, the filth is forgiven. What do you say? Forgivable filth, or what do you say? The filth is forgiven. Is that right? Excusable filth. That's good. Excusable filth. Now, what are those excusable filth? We will explain after this. What is excusable filth? وَلَمْ يَكُنِ الْمَاءُ وَارِدًا فَإِنْ كَانَ. Okay. There are two conditions. The water will not become impure if it's from excusable filth. Or number two, if there was a flowing water. There was a flowing water, is that right? There was flowing water. No poor, right? Correct me, I'm still learning English. If there was flowing water. Now, if the filth is excusable, and if there was a flowing water, then the water will not become impure if there was a najasa has fell into the water. Okay, if there was some filth, fell into the water. If there was no najasa, what am I talking about? It's very confusing. Not very confusing. In fact, you have to think on how to structure and how to explain, because it's all like this in written form, and you have to come up with your own way of explanation. Now, if the water is less than 2 qullah, if the water is little, but the filth is excusable, and there was a flowing water, then it will be forgiven. Okay, this is the only two ways that the little water will not become impure. If there was some filth has fallen into the water, and every of these what do you call it? Conditions? What do you call it? Excuses. There's details. Which what? If we will go through now. Actually, I'm very interested to go through the khutbah, the last sermon of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also do the dhikr of 10 Dhul-Hijjah. What do you think? Is it good? Tomorrow after 2 days is the day of Arafah. Remind us of the last sermon of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Should we do that? It is very important. Yes, learning in classes fiqh is very interesting, but it's also very important for us to commemorate the things or the events which happened during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu, and also to add with a'mal, some acts of dhikr or dua or whatever things which is important into our daily life. So let's do that, inshallah. So now I will read out, inshallah, on the last khutbah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. Yani Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has instructed us so that we spread the khutbah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to all people, to everyone. So it is very important for us to read out, to ponder, and also for us to spread to people. On the 9th of Arafah, on the 9th of Dhul-Hijjah, on Mount Arafah, it was the last Hajj which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has done with his Sahaba. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has a special message for the Sahaba on that day. Now, after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and thanking Allah, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "O people, lend me an attentive ear, for I know not whether after this year I shall ever be amongst you again. Therefore, listen to what I am saying to you very carefully, and take these words to those who could not be present here today. O people, just as you regard this month, this day, this city as sacred, so regard the life and property of every Muslim as a sacred trust. Return the goods entrusted to you to their rightful owners. Hurt no one, so that no one may hurt you. Remember that you will indeed meet your Lord, and that He will indeed reckon your deeds. Allah has forbidden you to take usury, interest, or riba. Therefore, all riba obligations shall henceforth be waived. Your capital, however, is yours to keep. You will neither inflict nor suffer any iniquity. Allah has judged that there shall be no riba or interest, and that all the interest due to Abbas ibn Muttalib shall henceforth be waived. Beware of shaitan, for the safety of your religion. He has lost all hope that he will ever be able to lead you astray in big things. So beware of following him in small things. O people, it is true that you have certain rights with regard to your women, but they also have rights over you. Remember that you have taken them as your wives only under Allah's trust and with His permission. If they abide by your right, then to them belongs the right to be fed and clothed in kindness. Do treat your women well and be kind to them, for they are your partners and committed helpers. And it is your right that they do not make friends with anyone of whom you do not approve, as well as never to be unchaste. O people, listen to me in earnest. Worship Allah. Say your 5 daily prayers. Fast during the month of Ramadan, and give your wealth in zakat. Perform Hajj if you can afford to. All mankind is from Adam and Hawa, or Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor a non-Arab has any superiority over an Arab. Also, a white has no superiority over black, nor a black has any superiority over white, except by piety and good action. Learn that every Muslim is a brother to every Muslim, and that the Muslims constitute one brotherhood. Nothing shall be legitimate to a Muslim which belongs to a fellow Muslim, unless it was given freely and willingly. Do not therefore do injustice to yourselves. Remember, one day you will appear before Allah and answer your deeds. So beware. Do not stray from the path of righteousness after I am gone. O people, no prophet or apostle will come after me, and no new faith will be born. Reason well, therefore, O people, and understand words which I convey to you. I leave behind me 2 things, the Quran and my example, the Sunnah. And if you follow these, you will never go astray. All those who listen to me shall pass on my words to others, and those to others again. And may the last ones understand my words better than those who listen to me directly. Be witness, O Allah, that I have conveyed your message to your people. This is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam last sermon. Now we can continue some of our class before we do our dhikr. We still have time. Right. Let's continue some of our class before we do our dhikr. ولكن العفو عنها مشروط بألا تغير ما وقعت فيه وعلى موتها إلا إن كان طارحها رضا. Now, what are the conditions to be fulfilled to say that a filth is excusable? For the filth to fall under the category of excusable filth, there are few conditions to be fulfilled to go under the category of excusable filth. As how we have mentioned, if an excusable filth fell into a little water, then it will not turn the water into impurity. Okay. Now, what are the conditions, or what are the requirements to fall under excusable filth? Number one, it has to be tamam. Indiscernible. This is not complete enough. The footnote on number 18 not complete enough. Indiscernible by eyesight. Is that right? How do you say? Indiscernible. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I learned a new word today. Thank you. Indiscernible by eyesight. Number two, it's not from مغلظة. Which means from Mughalladha is pig or dog. It's not from Mughalladha, any parts of a pig or a dog or anything or any animal's life which comes from a pig or a dog, which means sometimes pig get married to something else and then something else come out. Half pig, half يعني Allah Alam. Half pig, half kambing. Then it's still mughalladha, it's still considered as pig. Dog, maybe dog يعني dog with wolf, then you come out something between dog and wolf, then it becomes mughalladha as well. Or any animals which comes from a pig or a dog. Number three, no flowing blood. Which is, this is the general statement, but the detail is that anything which is smaller than a lizard smaller than a cicak. Number four, it does not change the state of the water. Number five, everyone is complete. I'll just this. dusted. Exciting. At last. Number 5. It, all this it refer to the filth. It should not be thrown in the water after its death. Except if it was brought thrown by wind or animals or non-mumayyiz child. What is English non-mumayyiz? What is mumayyiz in English? Just put non-mumayyiz. Except if it was thrown by wind or animals or non-mumayyiz child. Color, taste and smell. Yes. The state of the water. Then you can put color, taste and smell. If the animal was thrown before its death, forgiven. If the animal is thrown after its death, then who is the one who threw the animal up in the water? If it was thrown by wind or other animals or by a non-mumayyiz child, then it's forgiven. But if a fly, dead fly, was thrown by Fulan, who attends Friday class Safinatun Najah, intentionally sabo his brother or sister at home, pain. Halas, the water is unforgiven. It was intentionally thrown. It should not be thrown. It should not. Yeah, right, should not. Sorry. Because I translate from Arabic to English. Yes.
This is any kind of animal. Maybe a little bigger than lizard.
It has to be smaller than lizard.
Smaller.
Now it has to fulfill all these 5 conditions, then it will be considered as an excusable filth. Otherwise it will not be considered as an excusable filth. Indiscernible. Right. And then the next is if there was flowing water, then there have to be a few conditions to fulfill flowing water. Allahu Alam. Now we will continue with our dhikr inshallah. And then we will do our Isha prayers. If you have any questions, then you can keep until next week, inshallah. 217 liters. Tuqullah is equals to 217 liters. Okay. Tuqullah is equals to 270 liters. When I saw 190 liters, it cannot be lesser than 200 liters. That is what I remember. But this is lesser than 200 liters. That's what I was like doubting. And true enough, it was not right. It's 270 liters. 217 liters. There's a good news, huh? Malacca make alcoholic drinks not allowed in places where majority is Muslims. Isn't that good news? Good news, huh? You don't need ISIS to do that. We don't need ISIS to do that. We need people with concern and iman and mercy to do that. And Johor has come up with, in Malaysia, there are only few places, very, very few. There's only one or two places which gambling is allowed. I think only one, which is Genting Highland, that's all. But other than that, in Malaysia, generally gambling is not allowed. At the same time, Johor also have come up with a new instruction to increase the checks on premises who run illegal gambling services. Isn't it good news? Good news. It's just our neighboring country, inshallah. That's good news. When there's no gambling, when there's no alcoholic drinks, there's no gangsters. There's no much social problems. There's no whatever it is. Normally all these things are the ones that cause gangsters, drugs, prostitution, killings, waste of money, bankruptcy, loan shark, whatever it is. This is the main reason. Inshallah, one day Genting Highland also becomes Islamic University. Ameen. Why you want to destroy it? Don't destroy it, we use it. Or at least become Islamic Entertainment Park. At least. Islamic. Give it our ticket, inshallah. It is not part of Islam to destroy buildings. It is not part of Islam. Even though Islam does not encourage you to build high-rise buildings so much. But if, for example, you're a just leader, and then the modern country fall into your hands, you don't destroy the country. That's not allowed. You don't destroy countries. You're not even allowed to cut trees without a valid reason. And there should be reasons for you to do some things. Ya Allah, they have built buildings, then we just use for good reasons. We don't have to destroy it. It's not part of Islamic teachings to destroy buildings, to destroy trees, plants, to destroy anything, animals, people. It's not part of Islamic teachings.